There's a famous saying that for Benedict, the founder of the Benedictines, the countryside was his place. And that Francis of Assisi loved the small towns. But for Ignatius, it was the cities that called him. And that made sense because for Ignatius, to reach as many people as possible was the goal of his ministry. And so he could send his Jesuits into the cities, and they could go into one square after another, wave their hats, cause a commotion, and draw people to them where they could preach the good news to those that would gather around them. There were children to be catechized, and there were prisons to be visited and hospitals to be served. The cities were the place that Ignatius found his ministry and his love for God. But as true as that is, Ignatius had another side, and that was a profound love for nature. We know that in Rome it would be a couple of centuries after Ignatius before the street lights or lamps would begin to be developed. And so he could go into the garden of the house where the Jesuits were, and he could gaze at a sky filled with stars, such as those of us who live in cities now can't even imagine. He could see the stars providing a silhouette to the buildings around him. And he could there be caught up with the beauty of the stars and the beauty of God. And that moved him to deep prayer. He could wax eloquent about how nature supports us, and he often would send Jesuits on pilgrimages where they would walk in the countryside for days on end, somehow restoring their relationship with God through the walking and through the pilgrimage. Ignatius had a love for nature. And the reason I talk about that now is that when I came here to the Jesuit Retreat Center, I began to work in this little area, and there was this cactus plant right here. And this cactus plant was desiccated, and it just didn't seem that it had anything that would call anyone's attention. And so I ignored it, and I just worked around it. And as I worked with the faucet that's right by it, the water would flow into the cactus plant. And before too long, it began to put out these funny colored growths. And I thought, it must be a strange way for it to put on leaves. And then one day I came out, and there were beautiful cactus flowers blooming here. Now, I know I could draw a lesson about how unexpectedly beauty comes to us, or how even in the midst of thorns and ugliness, there's something that should draw us to beauty. But I don't want to draw those sorts of lessons. The only thing I want to do is show you this bloom from close up, and to allow you to see how beautiful God has created the world in which we live. That God has placed so many beautiful things here. And may each of us, in our own way, find something beautiful in nature today, so that just as Ignatius could be wrapped in the beauty of the stars and be drawn to God through the stars, so might we find something small or great, so beautiful in nature that it moves us to prayer. And that's the wisdom of Ignatius for today.